little while since I did a video. Now, this one's an odd one. This is off a bass guitar. This winds the string on. And this part here used to be attached to that part there. And you can buy replacement units. And that would be a sensible thing to do, I guess. But my mate, he's had this guitar a long time. And he kind of likes the idea of keeping it original, at least from this point here up, so they all the pegs look the same. I guess you could replace all 4 pegs, but it wouldn't be an original guitar anymore. So I'm going to have a go at see if I can make this work again. So what I'm thinking is, if I cut this stem off at that shoulder and then drill and tap into the base of this, and then turn up a brass piece that replicates this, but with the addition of a little threaded part, I can Loctite this brass part here into here, and you know, worst case scenario, it doesn't work, but maybe it will. So we'll give it a crack. Shouldn't take too long. Back onto this bit of gear for the bass. So I hacksawed off that end there from this. I put this into the lathe, faced it off so it was just clean, and then put a thread up the bore. This is the missing part. This is the gear. I now have all of the parts for that mechanism, but this is the slightly helical gear that mates with the worm in the head of the guitar tuning section. So now, based on that, I can safely say that, well, 805 I've got there, because I measure the bore of this at 8.1, and I don't want a 0.1 clearance. And across the flats, we can see that there's the flats there. Across the flats is 6.6. Maybe I'll make it 6.5 or something, but I measured up inside of here, and it was 6.6. So now the plan is, out of this, I'll put this up in the lathe. I could say chuck it into the lathe, but then that would be accurate. And I'll machine up a replacement for this, adding on this additional 4mm where the gear goes, and actually it's probably 3. I'll think about that a little bit more, because there is a countersink screw that screws in that holds that washer in place, gear in place, and this is the part that broke. I think it's 4mm, and it's just a 8mm diameter with flats going down to 6.6. It's just been butchered up, so I couldn't get a proper measurement on it. So I won't be able to film turning this up, because I've got my new digital readout set up, and the phone I normally film on is also going to be my digital readout, because it's got the software on it. And I was planning to use this phone, but unfortunately the latest version of the Touch DRO setup that I'm using doesn't work on that. So I'll do that, and I'm going to make a also threaded section M6 that's going to come and screw this into there. My hope, I'll screw it into here, and I'll Loctite it, and I hope that it's strong enough to pull the string I haven't even worked out which way it goes, so that when you turn the unit, is it tightening it as it gets tighter, or is it loosening it as it gets tighter? You know, trying to unscrew this bit. If I Loctite it, there's probably a fair chance, but I'm also thinking I might make a complete piece replacement, just for the heck of it. Maybe I'll see if it works first, and if it doesn't, then I can make a replacement complete piece. So when I come back, I should have I might do some little updates in the middle, but you won't see any machining as such. Righto, let's get on to this. Righto, so here's the stage one. I've got the hole drilled and tapped in the end there. I tapped it so that it comes to maybe about here, a bit underneath, a bit back from where I'm going to turn the thread back on the other end so it doesn't snap off. This is the size for the gear here. And so next bit is to do the two flats on this. And I could do a real rough file or whatever, but I kind of like, since this is actually under a bit of pressure, and if you get it wrong, you end up basically putting the whole thing under stress, and it could rip out the center of that little gear. So I've got a set. When I left the uni, they're all pitched in, and they asked me to give them a pile of ideas of what I would like as their little parting gift, and they all kicked in. I actually asked for a metric set of collets, but I got imperial, but it doesn't really matter. But basically, they handed over enough money, or at least there was enough there in the pot for them to buy me that, and then that also this. There was a few other bits as well, which was very nice. But with this, I don't have a dividing head or rotary head, so I can just put a collet into this, and I had this collet here. I can drop that into there, so that goes through here like that. This is the right size collet for this, and now I can put that into the vise, and then when I want to cut one side, and then I just turn it over, cut the other side. And there's a block that lets you do 4 sides, or I only need 2, and there's one that lets you do hexagons. So I haven't quite worked it out. This obviously has a cam pull, but it's not cam pulling. So I'll figure that out. But then when I do that, I can put that into my milling machine, and I can cut the 2 flats. Okay, so of course now I realise that's just a handle to turn it and just get a good bite on it. It's not a cam. It all works perfectly. So I've lined that up with the front jaw, just so that's a real neat fit. And we can now I've got a digital readout on my quill here. You can see that there. So I need 6.6, which means there's a total of 1.4 mil off. So I need to take 0.7 off each side. And there we have it. Haven't deburred it yet. There we go. So that would be perfect. Right, so I've just cut off the end. I'll put that into a collet, hold it that way around, put it into the lathe, and do the threaded section on the other end. Well, I was going to put this in with a collet to protect the finish of that size, but I couldn't get it in there. We're used to bigger lathes. but I've got a bit of emery paper in there just to do a little bit of protection on it, hopefully. So now I'll just machine up the thread on that end. Alright, ready to start cutting a thread. I've gone through how to set up this for threading before on a previous video of my trumpet valve, so I won't do it again. So I'll just cut the thread. I'll do it manually, turning the handle, and we'll see how we go. So, here's the finished piece. A little tag on there somewhere. Anyway, that thread should be straight because I cut most of the thread, 80% of the thread on the lathe before I actually put a die down it. So we just get that, screw that into there, and it is effectively the original piece. Now I would think that two of the strings would wind on in one direction to tighten, and two of them would wind in the other, just the way I understand the things set up. So if we can make sure that this is on a side where, as it turns clockwise, it pulls the string on, then that's only going to get tighter, not looser. If it has to wind on that way, if you have to wind it that way, it's pulling to undo. So if we can get it so that if we wind on clockwise to go tighter, then it won't have a problem. So let's put some Loctite on it and see how we go. Well, here it is, finished. So there's a worm on the bottom. And that worm gear, worm wheel gear. And as you're turning that, it is winding the peg. I've Loctited that in position. Loctited the brass piece into this. You can actually see the end of that in the centre here, the brass in the middle. So that's Loctited, so it's probably fine. But if this can be put onto the base in a way that you turn it clockwise to tune the string up, it'll be pulling it into the pulling it tighter as you need to tighten up rather than trying to unscrew. So I'm going to recommend that that's what happens. Anyway, little job finished.